It is time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing. We are at episode number 68. We're filming this live, and it is March 11th, 2012. Of course, my name is Rob Woodbridge from Untethered.tv, and with me, as usual, from, I think it's like the tropical paradise of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Mr. Asif Khan. Take it away, Mr. Asif.
Yeah, Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association. It is indeed tropical climate here in Toronto this week. We're 15 degrees Celsius, so it's looking pretty good. Anyhow, big show today. Lots going on in the world of location-based marketing, and yeah, let's jump right into it.
Well, I don't know what's going on, but my God, it was one of the most beautiful days in Ottawa today. It was one of these classic March days. It's like 15 degrees, sun is shining, snow is melting, trees are budding. Oh man, it fills me with great joy. It's daylight savings time is it's happening. It's spring ahead. It's like sunshine at 7:30 at night. All is good.
Love it.
It's my favorite time. But as Asif said, we've got a very, very, very busy show. We have some pretty incredible news. You know, we've got a pretty cool Kickstarter project. We've got some dating news in Africa. We've got a great augmented reality wall company in Wallit. Some more social love and awareness making from South by Southwest with another company. We've got maybe a little bit of cleanliness. Unilever. We got some great deals. We got Momentfeed and Rob Reed as our product of the week. Got a bunch of acquisitions, some surprising ones, and of course our resource of the week, which involves a little bit of Volkswagen activity and what they did over the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't even know how we're going to fit this all in.
I know, it's crazy.
Well, you know, I think that this is the ramp up now, because spring is always it makes me feel great, and everybody is down in Austin at South by Southwest, opted out this year again, just simply because, well, too darn busy here, and it's like spring break. Don't you think? Is it?
I'm with you. I mean, I also chose not to go. I just got too much going on, and it's actually I just got to be in town for more than 3 days and get caught up. So.
It's crazy, yeah. Isn't it? The amount of activity that happens down there. I mean, I know it's insane, but you know, it just seems like it's party with Gary Vaynerchuk saying like, "Hey, it's my wine party, surprise wine party." And anyway, I would love to have gone, but again, you know, I got to be in the city. Got to be in the city.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we did have the St. Patrick's Day parade here today, so I've got my green on.
St. Patrick's Day is until next weekend, man.
I know, but we have the parade this Saturday here, so
it's like you guys in Toronto got to get your dates right. All right, so
yeah.
Shall we kick off?
Can't wait. You know, we're so excited about you know, the patron saint, and yeah.
Yeah, well, and there's green beer, right? It just gives you a reason for 2 weekends in a row for green beer.
There you go.
Why don't we start this show? Really start this show in earnest, and you know, our first story is around a company called Instaprint. And before we even begin, through the magic of live editing, this is it. This is the first. I want to actually give you a little bit of an introduction of what Instaprint is in their own words with video. So if you bear with me as I go through this, here is Instaprint, and here is just a quick video, and then we're going to jump in and take a look at what's going on with them.
In the spring of 2011, a small company in Brooklyn called Breakfast came up with an idea for a device. We liked the idea enough that we gave ourselves 2 weeks to see if we could build a prototype. And what came out on the other side was a new product we called Instaprint. It was a small location-based photo booth, and it could be set up almost anywhere. It worked by leveraging the popular app Instagram. Take your photo as you normally would, add your location or hashtag, wait a short moment, then watch as Instaprint finds your photo and automatically prints it out.
I think this is one of the coolest things, right? Where it's quite literally, I mean, it prints like it's Polaroid again, isn't it?
It is, and I think, you know, I think there's a lot of value in this. I mean, people, I don't know about you, but I mean, photos are definitely a big part of, I think, our culture still today. And I think, holding a photo and looking at it and passing it around. I mean, we can have all the iPads and the iPhones and things that we want, but it's not the same as holding that thing in your hands and, kind of, getting it all smudged up and everything else. And this is an interesting idea. So, I mean, just to kind of recap what we saw in the video there in terms of what it is. I mean, what we're talking about is basically, the ability to print a photo, but connecting that to Instagram, and in terms of the app taking the photos. So really interesting concept. So creating like a sort of pop-up or virtual, in some respects, photo booth, so to speak, anywhere you are. So you could be having a little event, and you can, or your wedding or whatever. And you could have one of these things in theory set up there. And what I like about it is that, the printing process is really interesting. So they're saying basically there's no inks in the printers. They're pulling the ink directly out of the paper. They're still sourcing that right now, but basically their target is to do about 30 sheets for $12. So that's pretty reasonable. That's pretty reasonable, I think. Yeah.
Well, this is it's a neat product, but what I love about it is that so this is a Kickstarter project, and they're trying to raise $500,000. They've created a prototype, and they're trying to raise $500,000 to actually put this into mass production. And I mean, the premise here is pretty simple: is that you plug it in, and it's location based. It sends to print.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think they've raised about 150,000, 115,000 or so. Yeah, 116,000. Oh, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and they've got the backing of Mike Krieger from Instagram as well. So this is, I think they got the right players at the table. The concept is simple and yet I think pretty powerful in what you can do with it. They've got integration, obviously with Instagram. It works over Wi-Fi, so it's really simple. You can hashtag an event. So if you set up an event and you've got a hashtag there, basically it'll generate all the photos around with that hashtag connected to Instagram. And the other thing too is it also creates an automatic gallery of all those photos online. So it's not just the physical photos. They're sort of storing them for online viewing as well.
So I mean, I haven't contributed here, but I think this is a pretty neat idea. But it's simple and it's built on Instagram simply because of the fact that Instagram is pervasive, 25 million users now. So and this is that concrete. There's companies that have built, services and products around Instagram, like photo books, printing all your pictures into a nice photo album and shipping it to you. So why not actually create a printer? I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, so that's it's Instaprint, and it's by
Instaprint.
It's by a company that you just saw there called Breakfast, and you can take a look at Breakfast. I think it's Breakfast New York, breakfastny.com, and you'll find a little bit more information about them up there.
If only Kodak could be so smart.
I know, it's so weird to think that Kodak didn't get this.
Anyways,
these guys were it's Kodak. All right, story number 2. Eskimi, is that how you say this? Eskimi?
Eskimi, yeah.
Adds a location-based feature to their dating application. Now, this is not just your typical dating application. This is pretty much this is an African dating.
Well, no, it's the company is actually based in Lithuania, of all places, but their primary market is Africa. That's where most of their users are at the moment. So these guys have something like 5 million users on the platform today. About half of them are in Nigeria, in particular. So an interesting market, and I wanted to bring these guys up because we try really hard on this show to find stories that are looking at location-based marketing all over the globe, and not just have this be North American specific. But so here's a company based in Lithuania working heavily in the African market, and we've talked about location-based dating apps before. We've talked about Blender and Grindr and some of these other things on the show in the past, but here you have it happening in the African market, and it's pretty simple concept. It's here's an app, find people around you who are looking to hook up or match a certain profile, and pretty basic concept there in terms of what it can do. And if you're interested in that space, just a quick little plug here. I just wrote an article for a publication called BetaKit, BETAKIT, betakit.com. It's owned by Post Media here in Toronto, called Looking for Location-Based Love. And it doesn't talk about Eskimi specific, but it talks about a lot of the other ones in the marketplace. So you might want to take a look at that.
Looking for location-based love.
Yeah,
we'll try to include a link into it somewhere up in the notes. That is hysterical. This is this a big business in Africa? Is that where they're focusing in Africa?
That's the market they're focused on. I mean, like I said, they've got. They're saying they've got, of their 5 million users, 2.4 million are in Nigeria at the moment. So obviously that's a big market for them. They say they're adding 10,000 new users daily.
Wow.
In Nigeria alone. So that's sort of their launch pad, I guess, is that market, and they see themselves going into other African nations.
I wonder how much safety. This might sound weird, but
yeah.
I wonder how much safety and social validation and social proof are going to play a part in dating going forward. It's one thing in North America. I'm not saying that you're always safe in North America, but there are repercussions that happen as a result of being in a public place. I mean, and certainly in Africa, some nations in Africa, it's not as safe. You don't really want to go out wandering late at night. I was born in Nairobi, Kenya. It's not a safe place past sundown. So I wonder if this is a way you can use mobile and mobile dating in order to be able to create a social blanket of comfort, so to speak, around the people that you're interacting with, so that it really validates it. So if you get social ratings based on the dates that you've been on with this guy, it's like an eBay reputation manager.
Sure.
Maybe there's some safety play in here that can fit into this, and I like that mobile can do that, because you can't really lie. Maybe.
Yeah.
There's got to be some way.
But an interesting concept, and I think, like I said, there's a lot of these services out there now, and the big guys are all in this as well. I mean, you got Match.coms and buying OkCupid, and which is another big player in this space, and lots going on in the space.
There's no doubt.
It just makes sense. I mean, mobile, is a no-brainer in that market, and location-based capabilities just, are an obvious add-on.
Yeah. Well, I've never thought about that. Is that sitting in a bar, maybe I'm old school, I've been married for quite some time, but I would never figure sitting in a bar pulling out my iPhone to see who's around me in order to be able to go and get a date when I can, anyway.
Yeah.
Different generation. All right, well, so that's Eskimi adds the location-based services feature. It's also called mobile stalking. Let's call it what it is. And especially when the theme at South by Southwest is very much around this kind of stuff. Maybe not dating, but companies like Highlight and companies like Glancy and companies like Banjo are there, and a couple.
And Intro.
Yeah, an Intro. Well, we're going to get there. Maybe do you want to jump into Intro right now?
Yeah, let's talk about Intro.
All right. Well, I got of course, I got a little intro movie to Intro. I'm just gonna cue it up here, and we're gonna go with them. But this is an interesting play, because this is all about what South by Southwest is, which is quite literally about this social knowledge around who's around you and how you can benefit from that. So here's a little intro to Intro. Hang tight. So that's intro. You know, for those of you who don't have the luxury of watching us or listening or watching the video, there were words flying around when that music was playing, and it is about intro. So why don't we talk about intro, Asif?
Yeah, so I mean, if you saw the video, you sort of get the concept. I mean, intro is basically a location-based introductions type of app. It's completely based on the LinkedIn API. So this is a fully baked LinkedIn, sort of offshoot app. Unlike some of the others. So there's, Highlight that you mentioned, Sonar that we've talked about before. And there's a lot of other apps in this space that are really about finding who's around you when you're out and about at an event like South by Southwest and connecting with those people. The difference between this and some of the other ones is that this is completely LinkedIn based. So you basically sign into LinkedIn, and then it starts pulling all the data about other people who are at the event around you, connected to that. Whereas, for example, Sonar and others, and Sonar, by the way, just quick mention there, they also launched some new features this week related to South by Southwest as well. So you might want to take a look at Sonar. So it's just sonar.me. So location-based introductions. Find people around you.
Yeah,
from a business perspective.
There are so many. We've talked about this. So Highlight, Glancy, Banjo, Sonar. There are a ton of these companies out there. It's kind of crazy, and they're all descending on South by Southwest. And this is, I guess, the differentiator here is that this is you tie into LinkedIn, and when you tie into LinkedIn, you really, you tie into LinkedIn. It's a business application, right? It's not a social application. So,
right.
Is this something that makes a lot of sense? And I kind of equate it to. I'd love to speak to these guys who founded it, but I kind of equate it to really being like Instagram for your backyard. I already have this piece of technology that is LinkedIn, and it's really, really, really effective at finding people. And I don't need to be connected to them in order to do that. Now, the location aspect, that's not that bad. But if I just bring, like I use Banjo, and if I just bring in my LinkedIn contacts, I get that anyways, right? So where does this fit in? Is this just another one of those companies that is just fitting in or trying to put a, this is going to sound dumb, but lipstick on a location pig?
Yeah, I don't see a lot of differentiation here. I kind of agree with you on it. I mean, other than I can say because it's so LinkedIn centric. LinkedIn has been on an acquisition path the last few months. So maybe they're just thinking, hey, we can whip something together here, get into this space quickly, get some users at South by Southwest, and LinkedIn will take us out.
Could be.
I don't know.
Why not? All the power to you, because you know what?
Why not?
Company that
Anthony Irwin, CEO.
Yeah,
get on the show. We want to hear from you.
We do. We definitely want to hear from you. I'll reach out to them definitely. But it's I sat down with the Caleb Elston, who is the founder of a company called Yobongo, right before South by Southwest last year. Just bought, right? They fit a niche, they fit a need, and somebody picked them up. And I love that because they had about $1 million in investment, and that's it. The rest was hard, cold effort. And so I'm hoping that they did pretty well. But that's what I wonder is South by Southwest is that launching pad for an acquisition, and maybe these guys at Intro are looking for that. Could be. Intro. Go and check them out if you're in LinkedIn. All right, our next story. We're gonna jump back and talk about Wallit. I do have another video, which is amazing. This is a great little introduction to Wallit. We're gonna queue it up and we'll dive right into it, and then we're gonna come back and have a conversation about it. So here is Wallit.
Wallit is the only way for you to write on walls at popular places. Write on the Golden Gate Bridge. Start a conversation with the people who are really there. Post on the wall of New York's Yankee Stadium. Tease the opposing fans. If you happen to work for a company that lets you use a competitor's phone, use Wallit to post on your company's wall. Psst, by the way, our Android version is coming soon. You can write on walls in San Francisco, New York, Houston, Tokyo, Istanbul, Panama, and in an ever-expanding number of places around the world. You can read any wall from anywhere, but to write on a wall, you really need to be there. No exceptions. Get Wallit now. It's free. Enjoy.
So that's Wallit. Interesting. W-A-L-L-I-T. Let's talk about this. Asif?
Yeah, this is one I really like. You know, I talk a lot about, you know, places wherever you are, you know, and they use the sports examples. I think it's a great one. You know, the idea of, you know, we've seen for a couple of years now, sort of, you know, these walls of, you know, Twitter feeds and Facebook status walls and all this kind of stuff, in particular Twitter walls. You know, this is the same kind of thing applied in a location context. So, except that it's the wall is virtual, it's augmented, and it's really, I think it's really cool because you know, you have that opportunity to create a space. You know, whether you're at a football game or wherever you are, you know, throw up a virtual wall and have all this stream of consciousness and content that's about what's going on in that place. I think is really exciting. You know, I suspect this will be on display at South by Southwest as well.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. But I love the fact, one of the key things here that I found, which was very interesting about this, is that they required you to be there to write on the wall.
Yeah,
right? Which is very interesting, and I like that. I like that a lot because you know, when we talked about intro. One of the ways that they're going to monetize this is by allowing you to communicate with people even though you're not in proximity to them, right? So if we're not in South by Southwest, but we could actually connect with somebody who is in South by Southwest, and they're looking at monetizing that. I'm not so keen on that because there's no difference between that, and there's no differentiation between just jumping onto the web and doing an intro that way. But I like this Wallit. You have to be there. Love the example that they gave in that video that you just saw, which was, yeah, you could be at Yankee Stadium taunting the other team as the Yankees win the World Series this year. Just saying. But I like that you have to be there in participation. And
what would be really good if the players who are on the bench start, you know, chiming in as well, right?
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I could see that.
It's almost better than having the live mic.
Yeah. Well, Nick Swisher is a prolific Twitter guy, and I'd love to see. I'm pretty sure they get fined, sued, or whatever it is, all over the place. But I really like this, and we're big fans of Broadcaster and the mechanism of location-based knowledge like that. And I think that from a historical standpoint, I picture things like, I mean, picture it like. Can you picture things like a huge wall, you know, the Vet Memorial in Washington, or the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, just having the stories that are around that, or
the World Trade Center, you know, places like that. I mean, this is the huge opportunities here.
It is. It's to leave the stories that people don't have, and that's the best thing about augmented reality. Is it's not really about. I think it's about storytelling like this and historical capture, and that's what really gets me excited about something like Wallit. Tough name though. But, you know, because Wallit, digital wallet.
I'm not sure about the name, but I like the concept. And whether it's sporting events like this, or even like you think about like, you know, you're at a live concert, like Springsteen, for example. You know, having a virtual wall going on there, and with, you know, fans who are in the crowd just contributing, you know, and throwing up comments. You know, like that kind of stuff makes sense to me.
Oh, yeah, boy, does it ever. Especially at a Springsteen concert. I mean, come on. Who doesn't want to put up virtual walls? By the way, his new album is out, and
there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what would be perfect? Okay, because I'm a Pink Floyd guy, so The Wall.
Oh,
The Wall.
Nice.
Come on now, there you go.
Well, it's okay. You know what? I just pulled up the old Bruce Springsteen .net just so that people know how to find Bruce Springsteen there. See what you're missing if you're only listening. You should be watching these things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like Wallit. I like the way that these guys are doing it. I like the approach that they've taken, and you know, whether or not this is something that I think the challenge here is number of users. This has got to drive. I mean, that's what they should be doing right now is accumulating users. If they're not accumulating users, big challenge, big challenge, because whoever owns the user, the number of people, and the activity is going to win this game. I think. Don't you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the concept is really smart and slick, you know, but there's a lot of guys who are in the location-based storytelling space that could easily pivot and add this as a function or a feature. So, yeah, it is about user acquisition at the moment.
So, I mean, if you're interested in this, my feeling, you know, give it a try. You just go to Wallit, Wallit app, WALLITAPP.com. It is available on, what is it available for? I guess just the iPhone right now.
Yeah.
No, coming soon to the Android market, right in front of you there. So go and check it out at Wallit app, WALLIT app.com if you're interested.
Cool.
Cool. All right, last story. Unilever. These guys kicking it in the developing nations. Unilever teams up with Viggle for March Madness. You're going to have to explain this one because, I'm a March Madness guy, casual. It's a tough time because hockey's down the last 15 games. Baseball season starts. It's like an insane time for a sports fan. But this is an interesting play for Unilever on location-based marketing. How?
Well, so we actually talked about Viggle just a couple weeks ago on the funding side. So they raised a whack of money, and these guys are in the social TV space or the checking into content space that we've talked about a couple times. Get Glue, Miso, there's a bunch of guys into now. Shopkick playing there as well. So these guys are about, you're watching TV, you're checking into a commercial or you're checking into a TV show as it's happening. And so Unilever, obviously, is a big CPG company. And this campaign that they've put together around March Madness is around the Dove Men Plus Care line of products. And so the idea is quite simple. Check in. The more you check into these commercials, the more points you accumulate. The points are, basically redeemable for, things at Starbucks and other retailers. Quite a simple concept, really. And yet I think we're going to see more and more of this. We talked about this during the Super Bowl and what Shazam was doing there and a few others. And so we're just going to see, I think this is a big year for checking into TV content. Huge.
Well, they've got to figure out, because the prices are so insane to get an ad on the newspaper on the TV channels these days, that if there's got to be an alternative, and I think this democratizes advertising quite dramatically. And I like this. I'm not so sold on the checking in aspect, right?
Right.
There's a Canadian company here, actually, Ottawa and Toronto company, that is doing the global TV app for Survivor, and this is an interesting play because it's it's not so much a location based, but it's a time based. During Survivor on Wednesday nights between 8 and 9, you participate in what's going on the television show, and you win prizes that way. That kind of engagement, very interesting, because you're checking into the show passively. You're not saying, I'm checking into the show, right? You're actually participating in the show. And there's got to be a blend of that so that the advertisers can naturally kind of invade our living room on the television and on the device. And maybe this does it, because I like the backstory, some of the backstory that you get from this, which is like, you get the history of some of the greatest NBA players out there that have been a part of March Madness, and the anticipation and the backstory about it, and the personal stories, and I kind of like that. But I'm not so sold on the way they do it. But it's Viggle.
But these guys get it. I mean, we talked about them on the funding side. I mean, the guys behind Viggle are Function X, which is the guys who they come out of TV. They come out of doing Academy Awards. They come out of doing I think it's American Idol or one of those shows. Yeah. These are the guys who sort of came up with all that concept of text to this short code while you're watching the show.
They just have to go beyond it a little bit. I think they just have to get past this whole concept of check-in, and I think that if there's enough enticement, right? And I think maybe this is phase 1, but the enticement is phase 2, where it's just a much more natural evolution, and I think that's for all these companies that are doing this. That's just an opinion.
There you go.
Yeah. I still like this. Don't get me wrong.
I do.
I like it. Is that it?
That's it.
5 stories?
Yeah.
5 stories in 277 minutes for episode number 68. I really like that. My favorite there, I like the concept of taking digital and going to terrestrial in the Instaprint, and I love the wallet idea. 2 big stories that resonated for me this week.
Yeah, I'm all over the wallet thing. I think I got some customers for them.
You do.
Yeah.
Got some customers for them. Well, you
Yeah.
know, and that
Call me. Yeah.
yeah,
No.
exactly. Well, I think that why wouldn't we try to get these guys on as guests, right? So
We will.
this is the call out to anybody out there. Come on, it's time for you to come on to This Week in Location-Based Marketing as a guest, and let's talk about it. We'll have you on anytime. I like it. So should we talk about Rob Reed and Momentfeed? I love that it rhymes. Should we be talking about them right now? This is the guest. This is your guest. Why don't you give a little bit of an overview of what Momentfeed is?
Yeah, sure. So, one of our favorite categories within the LBMA, when you look at our membership, is the location analytics space, and it's a space that's sort of near and dear to my heart because, I work with a lot of brands and agencies, and over again, they're like, well, this stuff's great, and Foursquare, and this, that, and the other thing. It's all fantastic and amazing and cool, but how do we measure it? How do we show whether we're getting engagement? How do we demonstrate ROI? And so there's a need for analytics in this space. And one of the companies, one of our members is Momentfeed, and so sat down with Rob earlier this week, and we had a quick little chat about who they are and what's going on and what's next. And so that's really what it is. So with that, why don't we want to hear from the man himself, Rob Reed? Well, we're privileged today to be sitting down with Rob Reed, founder and CEO of Momentfeed. Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing, Rob.
Thanks, Steve. Good to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. And why don't we just get right into it? Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about who is Momentfeed? What are you guys all about?
Yeah, Momentfeed is a pretty broad-based location marketing platform. And really our goal for large multi-location brands is to increase engagement at the point of sale. So get more customers to engage while they're in store more often.
Very good. Very good. And so, one of the things that we'd like to find out about from the members of the LBMA who we bring on here and other entrepreneurs is, what sort of prompted you to start Momentfeed? Was there like something missing that you saw in the industry or some gap that you wanted to fill? What was the motivation?
Yeah, I think it was we saw a paradigm shift happening in social with the advent of smartphones and mobile, really. And I draw the line between, kind of the PC era, the post-PC era, being also the line between social 1.0 and social 2.0. So 2.0 is consumers out in the real world on their smartphones engaging in social. And 1.0 is consumers in front of their computers at home or at work engaging in social. And so we really, address the former and think that that's where the biggest opportunity for brands that have brick and mortar is the 2.0, and increasingly that's where the growth is going to be as well.
Okay, maybe tell us a little bit about who is your target market? Who are you trying to sell to? And I know you recently announced a partnership with Foursquare. Maybe if you can comment on those two things quickly, that'd be great.
Yeah, so our key target markets are restaurant, retail, hotel, even banking. Pretty much any companies that have more than 20 locations, but when they start getting into the hundreds and thousands, that's where our service gets even more valuable and efficient for them, because they've got all this data and all this customer interaction spread across multiple platforms and thousands of locations, and we bring it all together into a holistic solution.
And it's not just, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not just aggregating check-in data across all those locations, but you're also marrying it up with sentiment information and other things. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a pretty significant content piece from Twitter and from the Foursquare tips and Foursquare photos. And then there's really the heart of it is CRM, but it's, if you think about every time somebody checks in at one of your locations on Foursquare, Facebook, or Twitter, they essentially get entered into your CRM database.
Right.
And, you get a lot of data about those individual customers on their loyalty, their frequency, their influence level through clout and some other measures that quantify influence and customer value.
Excellent. And lastly, why don't you just tell us maybe about the future? What's next for Momentfeed? 6 months, a week, 6 months, a year from now. Where do you see the industry going, or kind of what's yet to come?
Well, most immediately, starting this week, we're rolling out a new service that we call PinSync.
Okay.
That's PINSYNC, PinSync, because we have really unearthed a pretty major problem across Facebook and Foursquare. It amounts to the duplicate venues that exist for all these locations. So we found that pretty much 4 out of 10 locations have one or more duplicate venues, and in some cases, those duplicates that are unauthorized, unregistered, are getting the bulk of the actual engagement that the brands are completely unaware of. So there's that problem. Also, it's pretty surprising to find that the geocodes for the registered venues for Walmart or Applebee's or Chili's or Best Buy, half of them are inaccurate. And it's because previously geocodes only really needed to be accurate to like the street or the parking lot level.
Right.
But for this new medium, you've got a customer in the store on their smartphone. So that geocode really needs to be right over the actual building, over the entranceway, preferably. And so the PinSync service centralizes and organizes all of a brand's location data at Momentfeed. It synchronizes it with Foursquare and Facebook so that you've got this one main database to manage at Momentfeed, and it synchronizes out. So that's a one-time service that we're now providing.
That's great.
Centralized.
Yeah, looking forward to learning more about that, and obviously sharing that news in another week. So with that, thanks for your time. We've been speaking with Rob Reed, founder and CEO of Momentfeed. Rob, really appreciate you coming on the show, and looking forward to our next chance to catch up.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Appreciate it.
Great. Cheers.
Well, that's Rob Reed. What can you say about Rob Reed? We love his business. Yeah.
We do.
So go to momentfeed.com for more information and take a look at what they're doing. It's great things. They've got some white papers up there you can download. Just participate. Be a part of that. And we thank Rob for doing this. Thank him very much for his time.
Yes.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, so now on to some funding and acquisition news. This is always the best part because it's a lot of money floating around there and a lot of money being spent. Boy, is there a lot of money being spent. First story, Green Dot. Green Dot acquires Loopt. And this is kind of like out of left field.
Yeah, a bit surprising. Green Dot is a very well known, if you're in the mobile, if you're in the payment space, period, and you're in the mobile payment space in particular, Green Dot's a company that's been around for quite a while, and it's quite a well-respected name in the industry. New York-based, I believe. And Loopt was one of the original location-based check-in platforms, right there with Foursquare and Gowalla back in the day, San Francisco based. And, what blew me away here is the numbers. $43.4 million deal. I can't believe, first of all, I don't think Loopt had anywhere near the user base that, some of these other guys have. At least from the numbers that I saw last. But functionally, I think the combination makes sense. This is a lot like the, partnership or the acquisition of Where by PayPal. In some respects, you could make that, that symmetry there between those organizations and what, Green Dot is to Loopt. So I think that, it just says that, location-based deals and couponing and all that stuff that's been going on around discovery and the marriage of that with the ability to actually connect with point of sale systems and redeem offers, has to happen. And I think obviously Loop can't get there on their own, and I don't think Where could have got there on their own either. You need to have these guys who have lots of experience and have a big network, pre-existing network of users and merchants that are in the space.
So it always comes down to that, doesn't it? Getting a good product into a good channel, and ultimately a lot of consolidation is going to happen in this because of that. Great product, but just it's so difficult to build a good channel that you can sell into.
Yeah. I mean, Green Dot has 60,000 merchants from one of the pieces I saw. So
and that's, I mean, what were the numbers on it? $43 million.
$43.4 million.
$43.4 million, and in cash.
Yeah,
which is the best thing. They said that they reserved 9 and change for incentive. Hard. You don't. That's not a lot of incentive, man. I've already got 30 in the bank. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, good, and Loopt was a great return on investment, because I think the numbers that I read is that they had $600,000 in cash, or in the bank, or in total value. They had $17 million invested into them over the period of time since 2005. And what happened? They got bought for 43.5, and I think, or 44. So I think that there's a lesson in here, is that I take the money. Steve Miller says, "Go on, take the money and run." He said, "Go on, take the money."
Hey, Sam, congratulations. Yes. There you go.
I like it. It's a good deal. Second story, Switchfly. This company closed a round of $15 million. These guys, as you said, have been on an acquisition spree. They bought Top Guest, Jeff Lewis's company, back in December.
Which just happened in December. Yeah. So they're continuing to roll out the acquisition. So I mean, Switchfly is a company that plays in the travel and hospitality space specifically. I mean, they're based in San Francisco as well. So they do all the reward redemption type of stuff for a lot of airlines, American Airlines, United, a lot of hotel chains, Starwood, etc. So lots going on here. This is a big market. There's a lot of activity in this space. So $15 million in funding for them. You mentioned the Top Guest acquisition. I didn't see any numbers on that. It just happened in December. But Top Guest, again, it was another one of those guys. So what we're seeing here is this trend. All of these guys that were that original group of companies that sort of were the check-in guys, with the exception of Foursquare, really, are all being taken out, right? So you had Gowalla go to Facebook, you had Where go to eBay, you had Loopt now go to Green Dot, and Top Guest gone to Switchfly, so there ain't a lot of them left out there, right? So
it's phase one, really, quite frankly, when you start to think about that, is this consolidation, which we've been talking about now for 14 months, and is only at the beginning, I think, especially in the location services, because this is phase one of that acquisition, these infrastructure layers. And now you're starting to get into the Yobongos, or the group-based, location-based chats. Those companies were picked up over the last 6 months, and now loyalty cards and loyalty are going to get picked up, and then eventually it's going to be the guys that we're seeing at South by Southwest. We talked about it, that the location social layer around the companies that we've talked about, like Highlight and Glancy, and
exactly.
So
and the other thing, just on this deal, one other point is Switchfly is also says that later this year they're going to be releasing a digital wallet in partnership with PayPal. So again, just to that same discussion of Loop plus Green Dot and PayPal and Where, now here you have them saying, look, we're going PayPal for digital wallets. So they do see a vision within their own space. Or their own sort of vertical of travel and hospitality to sort of have that redemption piece as part of the mix. How
many? Two questions on this. Do you think that a company like this, right? So these guys, Switchfly, do you see that these guys competing with the Aeroplans, or the Air Miles? Are they the next generation of those companies, or do you think that Aeroplan and Air Miles can really continue to own this market? Because I think that we're not only in kind of in location fatigue and check-in fatigue. I think we're going to be in wallet fatigue soon. Right? And can we all carry? Is there going to be one dominant player?
As I understand it, I'm no expert on this particular industry and what what specifically they bring to it. But here's my understanding. So, is, you have, Starwood Hotels and Aeroplan and all, and, all the different programs that are out there, and you belong to a program, you collect points. What Switchfly brings to the market is a redemption vehicle for those points. So they're not replacing the points program. They're simply saying, okay, you've got 100,000 United Airlines points or whatever. Here are some options of what you can do with that.
Gotcha.
And then obviously the PayPal digital wallet piece, that bringing into the mix, and other integrations with check-in platforms. Makes sense.
It's going to be a PayPal Amazon world, isn't it? Well, because one of the things that we haven't talked about that was a big news item this week was the fact that the new iOS 5.1 came out, and there's a separation happening between church and state, which is Apple and Google Maps isn't being taken as a default anymore, and because Google Maps started charging for high traffic sites. So I think that this is a fractured industry with massive opportunity to get in there, and certainly I who knows? I think that the world is about to change, and it's continuing doing so. So Switchfly is in the middle of all this. Very cool. All right,
there you go.
Last funding story. SingTel, big acquisition. They bought Amobee for what, $321 million?
Yeah, this is that's a big number. Amobee is a big company that's been around for a while, but this is really SingTel basically saying, look, we believe location-based advertising, mobile advertising is the future. We have to be there. We don't have a play today. This is our play. So let's just take these guys out, integrate them in. And all of a sudden, we've got that ability to do banner ads and location-based offers and deals and loyalty programs and everything else that we need to be doing. These guys are already there. We're a carrier. Let's smack it together and see what happens.
Smack it together. What do you think about this, about carriers getting into the space? Do you think that they can actually manage something like this, like an ad network?
Well, I think it's less about can they do it. I think they have to do it. I don't think if you're a carrier today, I think it's silly to think that you can't, or that you're gonna not be in this space of doing location based and mobile based advertising and deals and all of that. You have to. You have a user base that you've likely had for a long time with fairly low turnover, I would say, in most markets. So you have a loyalty piece already built in. You have a billing relationship with customers. A lot of these other guys, would die to have that, and here you are, controlling the ecosystem and have that ability to push stuff on top of it. So I think it just makes sense, and so I like this deal. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the reason I ask is that, listen, there's no doubt that carriers own the relationship. We've talked about this quite a lot of time, and carriers have to get involved in this because they own the customer, they own you and I. It's just quite clear they own us. But way back, I was a part of a mobile game company called Magmic a number of years ago, and this is before the iPhone came out and kind of democratized game development and distribution, and then Android came out even further. We were building Java J2ME based games that we would actually on deck on carriers, and this was huge business for us. But what drove us crazy was that walled garden. The carriers built it up. They owned the deck. You had to get in there. You had the relationships, and it was usually like 9 companies deep to get your game on. But as soon as you did, it was a gold mine. So I worry that now the carriers, when the iPhone came out and these app stores and the marketplace came out and BlackBerry App World came out, the carriers suffered the greatest because their walled garden came crumbling down. They didn't own the customer anymore. They just owned our number. They didn't own that service or the software layer. So I hope that this isn't them trying to build up that walled garden again and owning the customer and having us go through those painful hoops that we had to do in order to get the games on deck. It was not a democratic process. They lived high on the hog for such a long time that I hope that that's not what this is about again. I know they have to get into this business, but I hope they do it right, not like they did for the J2ME world. That's
good. Fair point. Yeah.
That's my rant.
Done.
So that's it. 3 stories on the funding. Green Dot acquiring Loopt out of left field for a whole lot of money. Switchfly closing $15 million in and being aggressive in this space, and SingTel buying Amobee for $321 million, which is a pittance for a $2.6 billion industry.
Well, I mean, SingTel's a big company, 434 million subscribers.
Yeah. Well, they got a massive distribution. The carriers have to get it, right? They have to be there, right? So that's it.
So I mean, they could have upped that by 100 million, and just it would have been about a million per.
That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
My goodness. All right.
Crazy.
So last but not least, our resource of the week. Let's talk about this thing. Our resource of the week.
Yeah, I pulled this one out this week. So this is from Mobile Marketing Magazine, and a little piece on a sort of a case study, really, because people are always asking me for numbers and data, and so I thought, let me pull something out here that you can actually look at and absorb and get some real data out of. And so the client was Volkswagen in this case. We both love some of the Volkswagen ads that have been running lately. But there's some really great data in here. One of the things that they did was, and so this was during the Super Bowl, Volkswagen had 2 TV spots that they bought, and they did the usual billboard and other advertising around that. But in addition to that, in Indianapolis area there, they basically said, look, let's work with Jaywire, who's a big player in the Wi-Fi space. And a lot of the Wi-Fi hotspots in the U.S. market, still to this day, in a lot of the public areas, airports and hotels and other places, are still paper use. And so Jaywire has a program called Ads for Access, which is basically brands can buy advertising and sponsor the Wi-Fi network. So effectively, you get free Wi-Fi in exchange for watching an ad. And so that's what happened here. And so Volkswagen bought a couple of these things. What I like about it is that they didn't actually run ads in this particular Wi-Fi campaign. They just did brand logo placement, and the premise was that when you think about the Super Bowl, it's not really about selling; it's more about can we resonate a brand in the mind of the consumer, and it seemed to work really well. The numbers are there, so I don't know if you want to comment on that.
I like it. It's the same way that we've all been faced with this when we get to Starbucks and we open up our laptop and get have to walk through the barrage of ads before we get our free Wi-Fi. But I do like that. I like the concept. The numbers are staggering, but it helps that this is this is an immersive experience. So when we talk about $3.5 million for a 30-second commercial, which is insane to begin with, I like the fact that they did this to complement that very clearly. I mean, they have ads. If you go to the link up that were included here, they have a great ad, which is the dog barking doing the introduction to Star Wars, right? They got that great Star Wars thing. And they didn't even run that. That wasn't their Super Bowl ad. They created that ad as a complement to what they were doing with their Super Bowl ad. And I like that. Volkswagen gets marketing. Man, they get marketing. And using Jaywire, I think, was a golden opportunity for Jaywire to shine, and they did. Yeah.
So take a look at the link, and some great numbers in there, and some great little video clips as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I get stuck. I really liked last year's that kid with the Darth Vader. It was great. I don't think they can top that. That's it. That was the week that was. Done? Episode number 68. Done. Asif, are you in town? Are you in town this week?
I'm in town. I'm in town this week and next week.
It's March break.
It's crazy. It's March break.
Yeah. And everybody is out of town, floating around drunk in Austin, South by Southwest. But we got the weather up here, so I'm okay with that.
I'm with you.
So listen, we really appreciate you guys watching. We really appreciate you guys listening. However you consume this, each and every week. We've done this 68 consecutive weeks now. We really appreciate the fact that you come on and participate in this. The feedback that we're getting is fast and ferocious, and you guys love it. We really appreciate it. We'd love to hear more of it. We live in a vacuum when we do this. We'd love to hear some feedback and some comments. Companies that you'd like to see us featured here, bring them. If you are a company that should be featured here, bring yourself to us through Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're always open to that. You can find us pretty easily on Twitter, at untether.tv. at thelbma.com. And we're obviously both personally on Twitter. Easy to find us, guys, anywhere pretty much. And and also sponsors too. I mean, we're always happy to have sponsors of the show. We had Maponics a little while ago. We got Canada Post coming up next month. So a lot of great stuff happening. So yeah,
please bring it. We really appreciate you guys watching it. Thank you so much for participating, Asif. It's always a pleasure, man. We'll see you next week for episode number 69 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Have a good week, everybody.